Kell Brook calls out Terence Crawford, says he doesn't have many options, but I'll be a huckleberry. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also, subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing if you want to become part of the gang. Notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the Super Chats, channel donations, the Venmo donations, the Cash app, and the Patreon family. We working. Sign up for ESPN Plus below using my link. It does help the channel. You could get ESPN Plus as a standalone app, or you can bundle it ESPN Plus with Disney Plus. Disney Plus just released The Lion King, the remake, the live action kind of remake. Black Panther's on there. A lot of classic shows like Boy Meets World. You can get ESPN Plus, Disney Plus, and Hulu, all three apps for $12.99 a month. I have all three. Great services. Click on my link if you're interested, and it helps the channel in such a phenomenal way. Now, Kell Brook did a recent interview, and there's recently footage of him, meeting and greeting with Terence Crawford at a fight. I don't even remember what fight it was, but they were both at a fight, checking it out. It might have been Mikey Garcia, Jesse Vargas. I don't remember. It was some fight, but there's recent footage of that. Kell Brook has done interviews, and he stated that he's up for the challenge of fighting Terence Crawford. Now, I want to give you my thoughts. This is no video about negotiations or saying this is going to be done, because Kell Brook and Terence Crawford was eyed and thought about previously, and nothing ever happened. It never got out of the cutting room floor. Nothing ever materialized. So I don't know what will happen there. My thoughts as a fight, it's cool. It's solid. It's aight. I'm not going to front and act like this is the best fight for Terence Crawford or the most scintillating blockbuster fight that I've been begging to see. But it's interesting enough because we know both names. I think Kell Brook is solid. He looked better in his last fight than he did previously versus Michael Zarafa. Terence Crawford had a little bit of struggle in the early rounds with his last opponent, and then made the proper adjustment, got out of the southpaw position, and walked and broke his man down in Mean Machine Kavaliauskas. So, it's solid. That's all I can say. It's solid. It would really be a barometer to see how Crawford would try to beat or dispatch of Kell Brook, or if he can beat and dispatch of Kell Brook versus Errol Spence. So for that reason, I feel like Terence Crawford, he's in between a rock and a hard spot. I have Crawford as my number one pound for pound. He has all the skill in the world, but he is enthralled and trapped in the political landscape of this world of boxing. And I can't say I'm surprised, because I predicted this. I called this. I told you guys this absolutely would be the situation for Crawford. He's too good. Top Rank put in front of him immediate challenges when he moved up to 47. Like Jeff Horn has technically, I thought he lost the fight, but on paper he beat Manny Pacquiao. Terence Crawford ran through him. So that was one person. It wasn't built up. That was his first assignment from being undisputed with Julius Ndongo, which I covered at 140, and moving up to 47. He just made the plunge up and took on a champion first fight. So he became a champion in his first fight, and he destroyed Jeff Horn. Jeff Horn later left the division after being stopped, right? Then he beat Jose Benavidez. He destroyed Amir Khan. Benavidez got stopped in the 12th round. And, he beat his mandatory Mean Machine. So it's like Terence Crawford is such an animal that he's almost like a kid who's a genius, and then you put him in the wrong class. You put him in the English fundamentals, English 101 fundamentals, but his English aptitude and his mental dexterity is at a higher level, so he doesn't really fit in, and that's how I feel. And some guys are like that. They don't really fit in with mediocrity. They don't fit in with average fights. You put them in with journeyman, it's going to be the same outcome, because they're disciplined enough. They don't lose focus. They keep their weight in check, etc. So Terence Crawford is in between a rock and a hard spot, because he's very skilled and he's good, and he happens to be on the side of the street, side of the fence, whatever you want to call it, that doesn't have the best welterweight contemporaries for him. almost all of the big name fights that he could fight are with other entities, namely the PBC. That's straight to the point, no filter, off the cuff, steak and potatoes. So with that being said, it puts him at a disadvantage because he could keep fighting Mean Machine and Jose Benavidez, who got shot in the leg, and people are going to still make up excuses. Me, not so much. I could see the skill set. I could see the talent. Like, you know, you got to look at Mean Machine. He's a puncher from Lithuania. Decent names. He fought like Ray Robinson. I thought he lost that fight and didn't look good. But you get what I'm saying? He was like a 2-time Olympian. So that's cool. But the average fan is not going to know what I know about boxing, or some of the more expert people, or even Crawford, because Crawford and his team, they're there to study their opponents and stuff. But the average consumer, they're not going to be familiar with these names, so they're like, who is this guy? That's just how a casual would look at it. So until Terence Crawford is able to get the bigger names that are relevant and have momentum and or champion fights or championship level or close to, like Sean Porter, Errol Spence, Mikey Garcia just won and, you know, got his win back, a win back in the win column. Errol Spence, Manny Pacquiao, you know, these upper echelon fights, that's Terence Crawford's in the upper room. He needs top shelf, you know, he needs upper echelon fights, and that's what it is. So my fear for even a fight with like a Kell Brook is not considered the same as he was when he was at welterweight undefeated. You know, he took a fight with Golovkin that he really shouldn't have taken, which is what I said from the beginning, all this daring to be great, because at the same, you know, time frame, Amir Khan moved up to fight Canelo. These were non-starter fights. These fights should have never happened, but you guys fell for it. I didn't, and I told you it'd be a bad. Listen, boxing is getting lazy where people and promoters are trying to sell you a dream, almost like pimps and hoes. They're telling you, hey, Amir Khan, even though he just got hurt by Chris Algieri in the first round, who's not even a big puncher, who was fighting Manny Pacquiao just the fight before at a catchweight and got destroyed and dropped 6 times, although he moved up to the full 147 and was able to hurt Amir Khan within the first round and put Amir Khan in a tough fight, and Amir Khan had a long layoff. They're saying, hey, we're making Canelo versus Amir Khan next. Despite him being knocked out by Bradis Prescott, dropped by Julio Diaz, knocked out by Danny Garcia, you know, getting hurt often, getting hurt by Chris Algieri, not having momentum, not really having cleaned house at welterweight, they're saying that's what should be next. And you guys buy it, you know, and believe in it. And when I made videos about all of these things, you guys said, oh, I was hating on Canelo and it's a great fight. And then when Amir Khan makes one mistake, he gets knocked out of this world by Canelo because he can't afford to make any mistakes against somebody that's that big. Same thing with Kell Brook. Nobody told him to fight Triple G. If Chris Eubank Jr. was going to fight Triple G, he was a 160-pounder. He's bigger. So I don't care what Eddie Hearn and Kell Brook discussed. Kell Brook ruined his career fighting Triple G, and Eddie Hearn ruined his career making that fight because it was Kell Brook clearly had skill, but he didn't acclimate to the division, so he couldn't make any mistakes. And, you know, the punching power of Golovkin hurt him in the first round, and then he came back strong in the second round, but his eye ended up giving out. You know, and then he fought Errol Spence and got knocked out. So, you know, I have real mixed feelings about it. As a boxing fan, I'll watch it just because of the name, but I just feel like Terence Crawford, his promoters, they got to do better, and they got to figure out a way to work with PBC or, you know, just get some other fights, because these are all fights that even me, the hardcore me, will watch, but I know casual fans aren't going to be as receptive to it, and it's not going to give Terence Crawford the level of praise that he deserves, that he would get beating Pacquiao, beating Errol Spence, beating Danny Garcia, beating Mikey Garcia. Like, it's just a total different ballgame. Like, for example, Crawford, if he fought Mikey Garcia, Mikey has never been stopped, even by the great Errol Spence Jr. So Errol had a weight advantage over him, you know, and still didn't stop him. Hurt him, but didn't stop him. Came close, didn't stop him. So for Crawford, Jesse Vargas just fought Mikey Garcia and got hurt and took several rounds. You know, he was tough, but Mikey beat him, right? So if Crawford went in there and he stopped everyone at welterweight. So if Crawford stopped Mikey Garcia, then that makes you realize the talent level is ridiculous. But if he stops Kell Brook, people will look at it like, oh, Errol Spence already did that. Triple G already did that. He looked horrible versus Michael Zarafa. He's been inactive. You know, we've heard stories about him keeping his weight down and partying and stuff like that. So, you know, it's just unfortunate. It's unfortunate because I really like all the welterweights, but I really like Terence Crawford. But I just think he's in that position. He's in that position where ultimately fights like that, John Molina and stuff like that, people aren't going to give him max credit. Like, we live in a society, a microwave society. Terence Crawford will probably get more credit for beating Adrian Broner than he would, like, let's say, a John Molina, because people know who Broner is. And you got to factor that into the conversation. Big names represent big attention, represent, you know, big blockbuster fights and also entertainment. There's a reason why Floyd Mayweather can come out of a 2-year retirement or whatever and fight Conor McGregor, who has no official pro boxing record beforehand, and sell mass amounts of numbers. You know, we live in a different society where YouTubers are fighting, and, you know, TikTok is popular, and there's just different things that are more in your face. Like you see Will Smith with a YouTube channel. You know, you see Will Smith on Instagram promoting. Back in the day, in the 90s, Will Smith is such a blockbuster star, he probably don't have to do none of that. He didn't have to make no YouTube account, or The Rock or whoever, but now it's just a different way of promoting. So, you know, I don't want to get too far off, of course. I just think, I personally don't mind the Kell Brook, because I think it's one of the better options out of the people, because I don't want to see Crawford versus Besputin or Rasputin or Ratatouille or some, you know, some guy we don't even really know anything about. I've heard about Crawford maybe with Jose Cito Lopez. You know, that's solid, but, you know, ultimately the downside for Crawford to me is without the lack of a contemporary or appropriate dance partners, he could actually end up getting like lapped by people in terms of perception of like pound for pound things. Because let's say Canelo knocked out Billy Joe Saunders, beat Triple G, and then beat Charlo. And then Canelo, you know, having that ability to fight whoever he wants, he can get those fights if he really wanted, right? So if Canelo has a schedule like that, and Terence Crawford is fighting, you know, Kell Brook or Jose Cito Lopez or Besputin, then it's going to be hard to keep him in that space when we know those aren't the number one guys in the welterweight division. They're not the Sean Porters. They're not the legends like Pacquiao. They're not the Errol Spences. You know, it's going to be hard to just hold your spot in line, so to speak. You guys get what I'm saying? And this is not a diss or a knock or anything, because I don't have to do this, but you guys see I mess with Crawford heavy on my channel. But I'm just telling you, that's going to be the perception of it. If Wilder knock out Tyson Fury in a rematch and then have a fourth fight, then you can't stay the same and not evolve in competition level, and other fighters are. That's going to shift their positioning where we rank them. If Inouye keeps like clearing out the division, or Teofimo knocked out Vasily Lomachenko, I mean, those people's positions are definitely going to move. And unfortunately for Crawford, there's people even on his own promotional side that have that ability. Like, I just used Teofimo. If Teofimo knocked out Lomachenko, he's a star is born, because the way Lomachenko's been promoted and shoved in your face, and people respect Loma's skill set. So how could you not respect it if Teofimo knocked him out? You know, versus if Terence Crawford knocked out Kell Brook or Besputin. You wouldn't be able to rank that in the same vein, because nobody is valuing Besputin, and he failed a drug test anyway, but nobody's valuing that fight, or, you know, even Kell Brook at this current point in welterweight in the same vein as how we perceive Lomachenko to be, you know, in the top 5 for sure. So that's my only fear for Crawford. His promoter, you know, I've already talked about it. Top rank when it comes to managing black acts and black fighters. I don't see the same level of focus on the star build. because again, Teofimo turned pro after Terence Crawford, and he's probably going to get on a pay-per-view that's actually successful. Meanwhile, Terence Crawford had 2 pay-per-views with Top Rank, one on HBO and one on ESPN, and they both kind of flopped. And that was Victor Postal, and then that did 50,000, and then the other one would have been his fight with Amir Khan, and Amir Khan quit, and they said it did maybe 150,000. So Errol Spence has better, stronger pay-per-view numbers. Lomachenko versus Teofimo is likely to be pay-per-view, but it's going to be a fight that people are craving for. You know, people weren't necessarily craving for Crawford, Amir Khan. You know, people wanted to see Victor Postal, but Victor Postal ain't like a pay-per-view type of name, but HBO was going through its budget cut, so that's what they did. So I don't feel like Terence Crawford in that vein is being set up like some of the other people. Same thing with Lomachenko. Let's say Loma beats Teofimo. Teofimo's a hotshot kid, then that solidifies and cements Lomachenko's greatness, you know, and shows that he's dope. But mean machines and fights like that, they're not going to all the way, you know, instill Crawford's and cement him like a win over Danny Garcia, a win over Pacquiao, Errol Spence, Sean Porter, you know, the guys that I've said, Mikey Garcia even, you know, Jaron Boots Ennis. You know, I think that, like, to be honest, I think Jaron Boots Ennis win for Crawford would be almost even better than Kell Brook or Virgil Ortiz or something, because at least those guys are considered the future, you know, the future stars. And I think it's too premature for those fights, so I don't want to go too far into that rabbit hole, but you guys get what I'm saying. Like, beating Jose Cito Lopez, he's solid, but, you know, you'll get more credit beating Virgil Ortiz Jr., his stablemate, just because he's looking like a machine, and you would be the first one to derail him. We've seen Jose Cito Lopez derailed by Canelo, Maidana, knocked out by Berto, etc. So what I'm saying is pretty easy to follow, I believe. You know, we unpack. Let me know what you guys think. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. We unpack, coming to you live. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.